A barber rudely shaves off the hair of a black client, unaware that she owns a salon. A shocking twist soon awaits him when the truth comes out. Subscribe and write in the comments where you're watching from. Abigail James, a striking figure of success and determination, walked through the polished marble floors of her company's headquarters with a purposeful stride. The morning sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a warm glow on her streamlined office. Dressed in a tailored suit, her silhouette was a testament to years of hard work, ambition, and an unwavering resolve to make a mark in an industry that had rarely seen women like her at the top, let alone black women. Abigail had built her empire of beauty salons from the ground up, facing countless challenges along the way, from biased investors to discriminatory landlords who doubted her business model. But none of it had stopped her. Today, she had made an important decision. She would visit one of her salons incognito, unannounced, and with no hint of her status. She would blend into her own business as a client, seeing for herself whether the standards of service and respect she demanded were upheld. Abigail's ethos was rooted in professionalism, empathy, and respect for every client, no matter who they were or what they looked like. It was a code she expected her employees to embody fully, but recent feedback suggested that not all her branches lived up to her expectations. As she looked at herself in her office mirror, she considered her choice of attire. She had selected a more casual look, something that would draw less attention and set her apart from her polished, powerful image in her office. Today, she wore a simple sweater and jeans, her hair styled in loose curls that framed her face. She wanted to be seen as an average customer, just another woman coming in for a treatment. Her intention was to blend in completely, to see her salon through the eyes of someone else, and to be treated as any other client would be. She pulled out her phone and checked the location one last time. Downtown, one of her newest and busiest salons. From the reports she had received, this branch was popular among affluent, professional clientele, but it had also been the source of a few troubling complaints about poor service and subtle discriminatory remarks. Abigail wanted to see for herself if these rumors had any merit. The drive to the salon was filled with memories of her journey. Abigail couldn't help but reflect on how far she'd come. Years ago, she had worked her way through beauty school, often the only black woman in her classes, facing everything from subtle slights to outright hostility. But her passion for the beauty industry had been stronger than the obstacles, and over the years she'd climbed the ranks from apprentice to owner of a sprawling chain. She had never been satisfied with just succeeding. She wanted to redefine the industry, to create spaces where everyone felt welcome, valued, and beautiful. This visit was part of that vision, to ensure her company lived up to its founding principles. When she arrived, the salon was busy. Stylish posters adorned the walls, and the interior design was elegant, modern, and sophisticated, just as she had envisioned when she designed the space. She entered quietly, walking over to the front desk, where a woman, likely in her late 40s, with bleached blonde hair and a sharp red lipstick, looked up briefly before returning her gaze to the computer screen. "Good morning," Abigail said, her voice calm and polite. The woman's gaze flicked up and down, taking in Abigail's casual attire. There was a slight wrinkle of disapproval in her eyes, though she forced a tight, professional smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Abigail replied, meeting her gaze steadily. "I was hoping to get a same-day appointment if possible, just a simple styling." The receptionist gave a half sigh. "We're very busy today. I'll have to see if anyone is available." Her tone was perfunctory, almost dismissive. Take a seat, please." Abigail made her way to the waiting area, an elegantly designed space with sleek furniture and minimalist decor. She took a seat, noticing the glances from a few other clients who, like the receptionist, seemed to assess her casually. She knew that in her usual attire, her designer suits, her carefully crafted image as a CEO, she would have commanded more immediate attention and respect. But in this more relaxed outfit, she blended into the background, just another customer to be scrutinized. It was exactly what she had wanted. As she waited, she watched the staff. They moved around efficiently, speaking to each client with courteous professionalism. Yet, she could sense an undercurrent in their interactions with her, an unspoken sense of judgment. She'd seen it before, felt it before. For a moment, she wondered if it was just her own perception, a remnant of the discrimination she had faced all her life. But, as the minutes ticked by, the dismissive glances from the receptionist and the occasional whisper between other staff members made it clear that her presence was seen as an anomaly. Finally, after a long wait, the receptionist returned, her expression slightly irritated. "We can fit you in," she said, her voice clipped. "Sam will be with you shortly." Abigail followed the receptionist's gesture towards the styling area, taking in her surroundings as she walked. The salon was pristine, but she noticed little details that didn't meet her standards. A smudge on the mirror, a few stray hairs on the floor, towels piled messily on a nearby cart. These were small things, but to Abigail they symbolized a lack of discipline, a casualness she had worked hard to avoid in her salons. She made a mental note to address these issues later, but for now, her focus was on the service. Sam turned out to be a tall, slender woman with platinum blonde hair pulled into a tight ponytail. Her face was perfectly made up, with an almost theatrical elegance, but her eyes were cold as they glanced at Abigail. There was no greeting, no warmth in her expression as she led Abigail to the styling chair. "Just a stylin'?" Sam asked curtly, eyeing Abigail's curls with a hint of disdain. It was a look Abigail had seen countless times before, one that she could instantly recognize. "Yes, just a simple styling," Abigail replied, keeping her tone even. "Nothing too complicated." Sam gave a small, almost dismissive nod and began working, tugging at Abigail's curls a little too roughly, her movements brisk and impersonal. Abigail felt each pull, each unkind yank as Sam moved through her hair. She could feel the impatience radiating from the stylist, as if Sam wanted to make it clear that she was doing Abigail a favor. The entire experience was an exercise in restraint for Abigail. She forced herself to stay calm, to breathe through each uncomfortable pull and unspoken insult. Inside, though, her thoughts were churning. Every second of Sam's rough handling only reminded her of why she had started this business, why she had fought so hard to create spaces where clients could feel seen and valued. Yet, here she was, in her own salon, feeling anything but. As Sam continued working, Abigail allowed her thoughts to drift to the founding days of her company, remembering the times she had confronted and overcome similar challenges. She thought of the moments when she had almost given up, the times when the industry's barriers seemed insurmountable. And then she remembered her purpose, the vision she had clung to through every struggle. It was that vision that kept her seated in the chair, silent, calm, and observant. She would let Sam finish, and then she would address what needed to be addressed. The air in the salon felt heavy as Abigail settled into the styling chair, aware of Sam's less than enthusiastic attitude. She had dealt with condescension before, but here, in her own establishment, it felt like a personal betrayal. Sam's movements were rushed and mechanical, and her tight-lipped expression left no room for conversation. Abigail's expectations of a respectful, relaxing experience quickly dimmed. The stylist's face, with its meticulously applied makeup and sharp cheekbones, was as stiff as her movements. She glanced at Abigail's reflection in the mirror, a flicker of disdain in her eyes as she took in Abigail's natural curls. There was a moment of silence before Sam sighed and, with an almost rehearsed indifference, spoke. "So," she began in a clipped tone, "are we doing anything with this texture or just taming it a bit?" She gestured vaguely to Abigail's hair, her fingers tapping impatiently on the armrest of the chair. Abigail felt a tightening in her chest. Her tone remained calm as she replied, "Just a simple styling, nothing too elaborate." Sam's mouth twisted into a faint smirk as she nodded curtly, reaching for her tools. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken judgment. Sam combed through Abigail's hair with visible impatience, tugging harder than necessary. Every pull felt like a test of Abigail's resolve, and she could feel her own annoyance simmering. In an effort to distract herself, Abigail let her gaze drift around the salon, observing other clients being tended to with care and warmth, gestures that seemed to be reserved for everyone but her. Her thoughts wandered to the early days of her career, recalling her first job in a high-end salon where she had been treated with a similar level of condescension. Back then, she had learned to endure it, to keep her head down, knowing that one day she would be in control. And now she was. But the memory served as a painful reminder of how little had changed. The stylist's subtle disdain was the same, only now it was cloaked in the guise of professionalism. Sam's hands moved briskly as she continued styling, her movements sharp, her eyes focused solely on her work, as if Abigail were nothing more than another task to get through. It was the polar opposite of the experience Abigail had envisioned for her clients. She had always emphasized the importance of making each client feel valued, to approach their needs with empathy and care. In the midst of Sam's tugging, Abigail felt the stylist pause, her fingers hesitating for a split second before moving toward the clippers. She watched in the mirror as Sam's face twisted into a faint smirk. "What are you doing?" Abigail's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "Oh, just a quick touch-up," Sam replied nonchalantly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Before Abigail could respond, Sam switched on the clippers and brought them to a section near the nape of her neck. With a swift motion, a portion of Abigail's hair was shaved off. Abigail's heart skipped a beat. The sound of the clippers filled her ears, a stark contrast to the stunned silence that followed. For a brief moment, the salon felt still, as if everyone had sensed the transgression. Sam, feigning ignorance, gave a casual shrug and muttered, "These curls have a mind of their own. Sometimes you just have to take control." Her lips curled into a smirk that she didn't bother hiding. Abigail stared at her reflection, a deep sense of betrayal and anger rising within her. Her fingers gripped the armrest tightly, but she maintained her composure. She met Sam's gaze in the mirror, her voice low and controlled. That was entirely unnecessary. Sam's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of unease passing over her face, but she quickly masked it with another dismissive shrug. "It happens. You can't expect perfect results with this kind of texture." Abigail felt her heart race with anger, but she forced herself to remain composed. She had to remind herself why she was here, why she had come in disguise, to see the truth. And now she was seeing it in stark clarity. Inside, she wanted to stand up, to call out the blatant disrespect, but she knew that would give Sam exactly what she wanted. a reason to dismiss her as an angry client, a stereotype Abigail had fought her entire life. So instead, she took a deep breath, her mind racing with thoughts, memories, and plans. As Sam continued, Abigail began to recount the history of her business in her mind, grounding herself in the vision she had built. Each salon had been more than just a business for her. It was a statement, a promise to create spaces where clients felt truly valued. She remembered the time she had personally trained staff on handling different hair textures, emphasizing the importance of sensitivity and understanding. It was ironic now, seeing how far this salon had drifted from her principles. To distract herself from Sam's careless hands, she began to reflect on the countless struggles she had overcome to get to where she was. She recalled the early days, the countless sleepless nights spent refining her business model, the financial obstacles, and the investors who had laughed at the idea of a black woman owning a chain of high-end salons. Abigail's mind returned to the present as Sam finished, taking a step back to examine her work with a satisfied look that only deepened Abigail's sense of betrayal. She felt the weight of Sam's dismissiveness, the coldness of her touch, and the indifference in her eyes. And as Abigail looked at her own reflection, she saw not only the damage to her hair but the harm to the vision she had so carefully nurtured. The salon was buzzing around them, unaware of the simmering tension between Abigail and Sam. Abigail sat motionless in the styling chair, feeling the weight of the last few minutes settle over her like a cold shroud. Part of her wanted to stand up, to confront Sam in front of everyone, but the other part of her, the one she had trained over years to be strategic, to play the long game, held her back. She took a deep breath, watching as Sam tidied up her tools with a casual air, as if nothing out of the ordinary had just occurred. The sight of her nonchalance sparked a renewed anger in Abigail, a reminder of the disrespect she had endured countless times before. The difference now was that this was her salon. She was the one in charge, and soon enough everyone here would know that. "Are you satisfied?" Sam asked, her voice laced with the feigned politeness. Abigail looked at her, her face an impassive mask, concealing the storm brewing inside. She nodded, keeping her voice even. "It's fine." The tension in the air was palpable as Sam finished her work, but Abigail remained silent. The salon staff moved around them, oblivious to the turmoil within their client. She noted the small glances other clients gave her, the curiosity, even amusement in their eyes, as if she were a sideshow they were waiting to see conclude. In a calculated move, Abigail decided to prolong her experience, even as her scalp tingled with discomfort from Sam's rough handling and the patch she had shaved. She wanted to see if the disrespect was an isolated incident or a more pervasive attitude that her staff harbored toward clients they deemed undesirable. She watched closely as Sam handed her off to the receptionist, who took her payment without so much as a thank you, avoiding eye contact as though Abigail's presence was an inconvenience. As she exited the salon, Abigail was seething. The incident with Sam had awakened old wounds, but it had also solidified her resolve. She would not allow her business, her name, to be associated with such casual cruelty. Her steps were purposeful as she walked to her car, thoughts of her next steps already forming. The drive back to her office was filled with memories she'd long buried. Abigail found herself thinking of her early days as a stylist, back when she'd first encountered the subtle and sometimes overt racism that pervaded the beauty industry. She remembered how other stylists had refused to touch her hair, labeling it difficult or unmanageable. how she'd been given fewer clients and made to clean up more often than her colleagues. Each memory was a scar, a reminder of the battles she had fought to build her empire. By the time she arrived at her office, she had a plan forming in her mind. Her heart still pounded from the encounter, but she was fueled by a fierce sense of purpose. She took a few deep breaths, grounding herself before stepping into the sleek, modern workspace she had designed, a reflection of her ambition and resilience. She called a meeting with her management team. They were surprised to see her looking so serious, her usual warmth replaced by a stern focus that commanded attention. "I want a full audit of the downtown location," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Every staff member, every process, and every policy." Her team exchanged glances, sensing the intensity behind her words. "Something happened?" one of her managers, Jackson, asked cautiously. Abigail nodded. She gave them a brief overview of her visit without disclosing too many details, keeping the focus on the behavior she had encountered and the lack of respect she had felt. "It's not just about one stylist or one incident," she continued. "It's about the culture that's developed in that location. That kind of treatment is unacceptable, and I won't tolerate it in any of my salons. We're supposed to be a place where everyone feels welcome, valued. We've drifted far from that, and it's my job to bring us back." Her words hung heavy in the room. Her team knew the depth of her commitment to her values, and they could see she meant every word. Jackson nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of her instructions. Over the next week, the audit began, and Abigail made it a point to visit other salons in her chain, personally checking in with the staff and observing the client experience. Everywhere she went, her presence had a quiet authority, reminding everyone of the standards she expected. She found herself interacting with clients and listening to their stories, each one a reminder of why she had started this business in the first place. Meanwhile, word of her unexpected visit spread through the company. Employees whispered about her increased presence, some in awe, others in unease, knowing that Abigail was not a woman to overlook misconduct. Her reputation as a fair but firm leader was well established, and those who didn't respect it knew better than to test her patience. Eventually, she turned her attention back to the downtown salon, ready to confront Sam and the rest of the staff. She scheduled a meeting with the salon team, instructing them to be present at a specific time. She could feel the tension in the air as she entered, a quiet murmur settling over the room as they saw her standing before them, calm but unwavering. Abigail looked at each of them, letting the silence fill the space before she spoke. "I had an experience here last week," she began, her tone measured but firm, "and I want to make something very clear. What happened is not just a violation of our company's standards. It's a violation of the trust we have with our clients and the values I built this company on." She could see the unease in their faces, a mixture of surprise and discomfort. Sam, standing towards the back, shifted her weight, her expression unreadable. Abigail continued, her gaze steady. "I created these salons to be a safe, welcoming place for everyone, a space where people feel valued and respected. What I encountered here was the opposite of that." She paused, her eyes landing on Sam, who looked away, the discomfort clear in her posture. "For that reason, I've decided to initiate changes," Abigail said, her voice resolute. "Sam, you are officially suspended while we conduct a full investigation. This incident will be reviewed thoroughly, and if we find any further issues, there will be serious consequences." The room fell silent. Sam looked up, her face flushed with a mixture of shock and indignation. She opened her mouth to protest but stopped, seeming to sense that nothing she could say would change the outcome. Abigail didn't linger, knowing that her message had been received loud and clear. As she walked out of the salon, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The path ahead was clear, and she knew that her business would emerge stronger, more aligned with her values. She had taken the first step in reclaiming her vision, but she also knew that this was just the beginning. The day of the all-staff meeting had arrived. Abigail entered the downtown salon once more, her mind focused, her resolve hardened. The air was thick with tension as the staff gathered, each person sensing the weight of what was to come. Abigail's calm yet piercing gaze scanned the room, her posture radiating authority and disappointment. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her tone cool and controlled. "As you know, I've been conducting audits across our salons to ensure we are upholding the standards I established when I founded this company. Unfortunately, I've found that there are issues here. Issues serious enough to question whether this branch aligns with our values." The staff shifted uncomfortably, glancing at one another, their expressions a mix of confusion and apprehension. Abigail could see that some of them were realizing, perhaps for the first time, how seriously she took her principles. She held their attention, allowing a brief silence to stretch, driving home the importance of the moment. "I created these salons to be more than just a place for hair and beauty," she continued. "I created them to be a sanctuary, a place where every person feels respected, valued, and heard, regardless of who they are. When I visited this salon in disguise last week, I was treated with an attitude that was neither professional nor respectful." The room went completely silent. She let her words sink in, watching the shift in their expressions as the realization dawned. Some of them looked genuinely shocked, others sheepish, understanding now that they'd failed the very person who had trusted them to uphold her values. "I was here as a regular client and was met with disdain, disrespect, and outright prejudice," Abigail continued, her voice firm. "This behavior is not only unacceptable, but it's also damaging to our clients, to our reputation, and to each of you as professionals. This salon is supposed to represent the best of what we offer, and yet what I experienced was anything but." Abigail's gaze fell on Sam, who was standing towards the back, her face pale and expression tense. Abigail noticed the flicker of fear and resentment in Sam's eyes, a hint of the defiance that had colored their interaction. But she remained composed, her expression a blend of regret and resistance, as though caught between defending her actions and realizing their consequences. "Sam," Abigail addressed her directly, her tone softening but her gaze unwavering. "I chose you for this team because I believed you were capable of embodying our values. But last week, you showed me the opposite. Your behavior reflected a complete disregard for our mission. You used a position of trust to demean a client, and by doing so, you compromised the integrity of this entire team." Sam looked away, her face flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and anger. She opened her mouth to speak, but Abigail raised a hand, cutting her off gently but firmly. "I understand that we all have personal beliefs, past experiences, and perhaps even biases that we bring into our work. But those cannot interfere with the respect we owe every person who walks through these doors," Abigail said. Her words were directed at everyone, not just Sam, and the room collectively seemed to hold its breath. Abigail turned her gaze to the rest of the staff, her expression softening just slightly. "I know that this business isn't easy, and I know that everyone has their own struggles. But I want you to understand that my expectations are clear. If you work here, you're expected to treat every client, every colleague, with the respect they deserve. This isn't just my vision. It's the foundation of this business. And if anyone feels they cannot commit to that, then it's better to part ways now. A few heads nodded, the tension easing just a bit as her words resonated. Abigail could see that her message was reaching them, that they were beginning to understand the depth of her dedication to her values. She then announced her plan for the coming weeks. Starting immediately, we will be conducting workshops on professionalism, empathy, and inclusivity. I want every team member to take part in these sessions, and if there is resistance, if anyone feels these values are not for them, you may reconsider your place here. The murmurs among the staff grew, and Abigail could sense both a reluctance and a willingness in the room. It wasn't an easy ask, but she knew that growth often came with discomfort. She had seen it in her own life, in the countless battles she had fought to earn her place in this industry. As the meeting came to a close, she watched the staff disperse, their faces a mixture of introspection and unease. She could tell that her words had left an impact, and though the immediate change might be gradual, she felt assured that the necessary seeds had been planted. After the meeting, Abigail lingered in the salon, observing the interactions among her team as they resumed their tasks. She noticed a subtle shift in their behavior, a newfound mindfulness, a quiet respect that hadn't been there before. It was a small victory, but it was a step in the right direction. Later that afternoon, as she prepared to leave, Sam approached her hesitantly. Abigail turned to face her, noting the uncertainty in Sam's expression. For the first time, she saw something other than resentment in Sam's eyes, a glimmer of self-reflection, perhaps even regret. "I just wanted to say—" Sam hesitated, looking down at her hands before meeting Abigail's gaze. "I'm sorry for what happened last week." Abigail nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Thank you for saying that, Sam. I hope you understand that it's not just about an apology. It's about understanding why it happened and committing to change." Sam nodded slowly, her expression softening. "I do. I think I needed to hear what you said today. I didn't realize how I was coming across." Abigail smiled faintly, her tone gentle but firm. "Growth is hard, Sam, but if you're willing to learn, to truly see each client as someone deserving of respect, then you'll have a place here. If not, then it's better to walk away." Sam nodded again, visibly humbled. "I understand. And thank you. I'll work on it." Abigail gave her a small nod of acknowledgement. "Good. Let's make this a place we can all be proud of." As Sam walked away, Abigail felt a quiet satisfaction. Change wouldn't happen overnight, but she had started the process. Her vision of a salon chain, grounded in respect and empathy, was once again within reach, and she knew that, with time, her staff would come to embody those values. The day's events had left her exhausted, but as she stepped out of the salon, a sense of accomplishment washed over her. This was the work that truly mattered, the work of creating a space where everyone, regardless of who they were, could feel respected, valued, and seen. The atmosphere in the downtown salon had shifted noticeably in the days following Abigail's intervention. A quiet seriousness had taken hold, each employee now acutely aware that they were under close scrutiny. Abigail's words had been a wake-up call for everyone, sparking a mixture of reflection, apprehension, and even relief among the team members. In the wake of her visit, Abigail had initiated a company-wide series of workshops on empathy, inclusivity, and professionalism. She herself had overseen the curriculum, incorporating examples from her own career and personal experiences. For Abigail, These workshops weren't just corporate formality. They were an extension of her vision, a necessary foundation for the culture she intended to build. Attendance was mandatory, and she had made it clear that anyone unwilling to embrace these values would need to reconsider their place in her business. Sam had been the first to attend the workshops, and her reaction had surprised everyone. Abigail's words during the meeting had left an impact on her, making her confront the bias and resentment she had carried. In the workshop sessions, Sam was unusually quiet, absorbing each lesson, her earlier defiance replaced by an introspective, almost humbled demeanor. For Abigail, these weeks were both exhausting and invigorating. She spent long hours visiting her various salons, speaking with managers, and engaging with clients to gauge their experiences. She paid particular attention to downtown, dropping by unannounced to observe and speak with the staff. Each visit reaffirmed her commitment to building a culture of respect and excellence. She saw the subtle changes unfolding in the team's interactions with clients, noting a newfound attentiveness, a quiet shift in their attitudes. One afternoon, Abigail called a meeting with her core management team to discuss the progress of the workshops and the feedback from staff. They gathered in her office, a space defined by sleek design, warm lighting, and minimalistic decor, an environment she had crafted to reflect her clarity of purpose. Jackson, her operations manager, began by sharing the initial feedback. "The sessions have been productive so far," he reported. "Most of the team has responded well, and there's a noticeable improvement in their approach. They seem more mindful, more invested." Abigail nodded thoughtfully. "That's encouraging. I want these values to become second nature for everyone, not just something they perform out of obligation." Another manager chimed in. "We've had a few people who, well, let's just say they weren't enthusiastic about the change. A few complaints here and there, but nothing significant." Abigail's gaze turned sharp. If anyone feels that respecting clients and colleagues is too much to ask, they should feel free to leave. I'm not interested in forcing anyone to stay. I only want people here who are committed to our values." The room fell silent, her words underscoring the seriousness of her expectations. Abigail was uncompromising, and everyone understood that this wasn't just about performance metrics. It was about building a company where every client felt safe and valued. Meanwhile, Abigail's regular presence at the downtown salon continued to have a profound effect. Staff, who had once barely acknowledged her, now greeted her warmly, visibly appreciative of her commitment to fostering a better work environment. She noticed how Sam had begun treating clients with newfound care, her movements less hurried, her interactions more sincere. Sam's shift was subtle, but it was there. A quiet, determined effort to embody the values Abigail had emphasized. On one particular visit, Abigail had a conversation with Lisa, a receptionist who had been with the salon for several years. Lisa was friendly and well regarded by her colleagues, but Abigail could see a nervousness in her demeanor that hadn't been there before. "Lisa, how are you finding the workshops?" Abigail asked, her tone inviting yet serious. Lisa hesitated, then replied, "They've been eye-opening. I think a lot of us didn't realize how much we took certain things for granted. We all thought we were being professional. But maybe we were missing the bigger picture." Abigail nodded. "That's understandable. Sometimes we get so used to routine that we forget the impact we have on others, but this is an opportunity to grow, to expand how we see our work." Lisa smiled, visibly relieved. "Thank you, Miss James. I think I think we needed this, and I appreciate that you care enough to make it happen." Their conversation left Abigail feeling reassured. She could see the beginnings of a deeper change taking hold, one that went beyond policies or workshops. Her staff was starting to understand the importance of empathy and respect as core elements of their profession. As the weeks went by, Abigail found herself increasingly satisfied with the progress she observed. The staff had embraced the workshops, and the downtown salon, once a source of concern, had transformed into a place where clients felt genuinely welcome. Abigail received emails and letters from clients expressing gratitude for the attentive service they had received, noting how the salon now felt like a place where they could truly relax and feel at ease. One of the most touching moments came during a feedback session when a longtime client, Mrs. Carter, approached Abigail with a warm smile. "Miss James," Mrs. Carter began, "I've been coming here for years, and I have to say the salon feels different now. It feels warmer, more welcoming. It's as if everyone here really cares." Abigail's heart swelled with pride. "Thank you, Mrs. Carter. That means a lot to me." Mrs. Carter nodded thoughtfully. "I can see that it does. You've created something truly special, and I'm grateful to be a part of it as a client." After the conversation, Abigail felt a renewed sense of purpose. The salon was no longer just a business. It was a community, a place where clients and staff alike could feel valued. The changes she had implemented were more than just policies. They were a new way of being, one that resonated deeply with her own journey and the ideals she had fought to uphold. Near the end of the month, Abigail held another meeting with the downtown staff, this time to discuss the future of the salon. She wanted to give her team a chance to reflect on the progress they had made and to share their own experiences. The staff gathered in the break room, a space that had once felt tense and silent, but now buzzed with a renewed energy. "Thank you all for being here," Abigail began, her tone warm but resolute. "I know the past few weeks have brought a lot of changes, and I want to thank each of you for your commitment to this process." She glanced around the room, noting the thoughtful expressions on the faces of her team members. They had come a long way, and she wanted them to feel proud of what they had achieved. "I'd like to open the floor to anyone who wants to share their thoughts," she continued, "whether it's about the workshops, the work environment, or anything else on your mind." To her surprise, Sam was the first to speak. She cleared her throat, looking slightly nervous, but her voice was steady. I want to thank you, Miss James. I didn't realize how much I needed this. I thought I was doing fine, that I didn't need to change, but these past weeks have shown me a lot, and I'm grateful." The room fell silent, everyone processing Sam's words. Abigail felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Sam's transformation was perhaps the most profound proof that her efforts were making a difference. Others began to speak up, sharing their own reflections, their gratitude for the workshops, and the changes they had seen in themselves and each other. As the meeting went on, Abigail felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had succeeded in creating a culture of respect and empathy, a space where her team felt not only supported but inspired to grow. By the time Abigail left the salon that evening, she felt lighter, her vision for the company clearer than ever. The journey had been long and filled with challenges, but she knew that each step had brought her closer to the values she held dear. As she drove home, she reflected on the transformation she had witnessed, not only in her staff, but in herself. This was more than just a business to her. It was a legacy, a testament to the power of empathy, resilience, and a refusal to compromise on one's principles. And as the city lights blurred by, she allowed herself a rare moment of peace, knowing that she had built something truly meaningful. The downtown salon buzzed with a lively yet serene energy as Abigail entered. It had been a few weeks since her last visit, and she was eager to see how the changes had taken hold. The front desk was neatly organized, and the receptionist, now a bright-eyed young woman named Emma, greeted her with a warm smile and a polite, "Welcome." Abigail paused to take in the scene. There was something different, an almost tangible shift in the atmosphere. She noticed clients laughing and chatting with their stylist, the sounds of friendly exchanges filling the air. Her eyes swept across the room, taking in the small details, the pristine counters, the relaxed posture of the staff, the natural flow of clients moving through the space. This was the salon she had envisioned, a place that radiated warmth and acceptance. Emma's face lit up with recognition. "Miss James, it's wonderful to see you." Abigail returned her smile. "Thank you, Emma. It's great to be here." She walked slowly through the salon, observing with a discerning eye. The once familiar tension was gone, replaced by a genuine sense of camaraderie. She saw Lisa, the receptionist she'd spoken to weeks earlier, working with a client, her demeanor calm and welcoming. Lisa noticed Abigail's gaze and gave her a small, encouraging nod. Abigail nodded back, feeling a surge of pride. As she moved deeper into the salon, she spotted Sam, busy with a client. Gone was the dismissive attitude that had once defined her interactions. Sam now worked with gentle focus, her movements thoughtful and measured. Abigail observed as she engaged the client in relaxed conversation, even sharing a quiet laugh. There was a newfound humility in Sam's posture, a genuine warmth that hadn't been there before. It was the kind of transformation Abigail had hoped for, but hadn't dared expect to witness so fully. When Sam caught sight of her, she straightened, her expression shifting to one of respect. She excused herself from her client for a brief moment and approached Abigail, looking more confident yet humble. "Miss James," Sam began, her voice steady, "I just wanted to thank you again for everything. I've learned a lot over these past weeks, and I'm truly grateful for the second chance." Abigail's gaze softened. She could see the sincerity in Sam's eyes, a genuine desire to uphold the values they had discussed. "I can see the changes you've made, Sam. I'm proud of you." Sam's eyes brightened, and she gave a small nod. "Thank you. That means a lot." Later, Abigail held a meeting with the salon's team to celebrate their progress and discuss future goals. The break room had been transformed since her last visit, now filled with comfortable seating and touches of greenery, a space designed for collaboration and support. The team gathered, anticipation buzzing in the air. "First, I want to thank each of you for the dedication you've shown," Abigail began, looking around the room. "The changes I've seen here over the past few weeks are remarkable. You've all put in the work, and I see it every time I walk through those doors." A few staff members exchanged glances, their faces reflecting pride and a hint of relief. They had come a long way, and Abigail wanted them to understand just how much their growth meant to her. "I know that this has been a challenging period," she continued. "Change is never easy, especially when it asks us to look inward and confront things we might have ignored. But you've each shown a willingness to do that, and I'm grateful." Abigail paused, allowing her words to settle. She knew the depth of the journey they had undertaken, how each person had contributed to creating a culture of respect and empathy. "I'm also excited to announce that, going forward, we'll be implementing a new mentorship program," Abigail said, her tone brimming with enthusiasm. Each of you has the potential to lead and inspire others, and I want to make sure you have the opportunity to share your skills and experiences with new members of our team." The room filled with a soft murmur of excitement. Abigail could see the spark in their eyes, the pride they felt in being trusted with such a responsibility. The mentorship program was a step toward fostering the supportive, respectful culture she had always dreamed of, a chance to ensure that her values continued to thrive. After the meeting, Abigail lingered, speaking with staff members individually, listening to their thoughts and ideas. She could feel the shift in their perspectives, the renewed sense of purpose they had found. Each conversation reminded her why she had dedicated herself to this industry, why she had fought so hard to create spaces where people felt seen and valued. As the afternoon waned, Abigail decided to treat herself to a simple styling session, a small indulgence to mark the success of their transformation. She asked for Sam specifically, wanting to experience firsthand the progress they had achieved. Sam's demeanor was calm and focused as she began, her hands moving with practiced skill and gentle confidence. They shared a quiet conversation, speaking about the lessons Sam had learned and the growth she had experienced. Sam opened up about her own background, the biases she had carried unknowingly, and the moments that had led her to question her behavior. "I didn't realize how much I'd closed myself off," Sam admitted softly, her voice tinged with humility. "But these past weeks, I've seen things differently. I've met people who have changed my perspective, and I want to keep learning, to keep growing." Abigail smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "That's all I ask, Sam. Growth isn't about perfection. It's about willingness, and I see that in you." As Sam finished, Abigail looked at herself in the mirror. The styling was beautiful, done with care and attention, but what she saw went beyond the surface. She saw a reflection of everything she had worked to achieve, a place where people felt welcome, where growth was encouraged, and where respect was not just a policy, but a way of life. When she left the salon that evening, Abigail felt a rare sense of peace. The journey had been long and often difficult, filled with obstacles and resistance, but now she could see the fruition of her vision, the manifestation of the values she had fought so hard to instill. Walking out onto the bustling street, she allowed herself a quiet moment of satisfaction. Her work was far from over. There would always be challenges, always more to improve. But for now, she knew that her salon stood as a testament to resilience, empathy, and a commitment to uplifting others. And as she continued down the street, she felt an unwavering sense of purpose. She had not only transformed her business, but had also inspired others to grow, to challenge themselves, and to become better. Abigail's journey, her battles, her victories were woven into the very fabric of her business. Her salons were more than just places of beauty. They were spaces of acceptance and respect, a legacy she knew would endure. In that moment, Abigail understood that she had achieved something truly lasting, a new era, a reflection of her ideals, a testament to the power of compassion and determination. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. You can also watch other stories. Each video reveals important topics and people's stories. See you in the next episodes.